Hey guys, I'm Brandon. Welcome to another FM summer camp. We are in person again this year, fortunately. So we've got our crowd here. Everybody say hi to the internet. Perfect. All right, so this is our new product seminar. So I'm going to go over all the shiny stuff that we have introduced over the past year and some new stuff that we have not yet introduced. So as always, if you have questions, please raise your hand. If you have questions about the specific product I'm talking about, please raise your hand, let me know. If you have other questions, I'm happy to take them at the end. So please hold them to the end. So we'll get started. Over here, we've got a handful of new parts from MX-5 things. So we've got a window controller here. These are for the ND specifically. We've got a window controller that makes it so that you have auto up windows in addition to auto down. It also makes it so that you can open and close the windows from your key fob. So we also have a DRL controller here. These are all super easy plug and play kind of things, no permanent modifications, easy peasy. So this guy makes it so that your DRLs stay on when you turn your headlights on. Because normally your fangs, if you will, turn off with the headlights. So these will keep them on. We also have a couple things that we don't have here because we don't have inventory right now. We've got an RF roof controller that allows you to put the top down one touch. It allows you to invert the switch logic, and it allows you to put the top down at a higher speed up to, I believe, 30 miles an hour. And it allows you to put the top down while you're in reverse. So basically, it just makes it much easier to use. And then, kind of tied into that, there is an accessory / ignition control unit thing. The name's a little awkward. But it makes it so that the ignition, or the accessory power, I should say, so your radio stays on when you get out, or excuse me, when you turn off the car before you get out of the car. So a lot of modern cars do that so that you can continue your phone call without letting the car idle. This does that. This also makes it, if you combine it with the RF roof controller, it makes it, excuse me, so that you can put the top down or up from your key fob. So you can walk away from the car, push your key fob 1, 2, or 3 times to lock it, and your roof and windows will go up. Same thing on the unlock button, and your roof and windows will go down. So pretty slick, actually. So we also now have caliper rebuild kits. So these are from our friends at FriendKit, and there appear to be a number of different rebuild kits, quote unquote, and they have a handful of parts. These have all of the parts. So all of your seals, your piston, your slider pins, hardware, a new bleeder, in case yours is rusty, and not 1, but 2 packs of lube so that they are used in the appropriate, so you have the appropriate lube in the appropriate place. So that is kind of nice. Any questions so far? Okay. So we also have LEDs. We've done LEDs for a little bit now, and as Mike was going on about before, LEDs are pretty awesome in a lot of different ways. So I'm not going to go through all of the options because we would be here all day, but we have LEDs for basically literally all of the locations in almost all of the generations of cars. So we've got headlight bulbs, I guess quote unquote, but anyway, and a couple different varieties there. We have also recently introduced the Holley Retro Bright lights here. So these are nice because, here's a good example. These, the Sealed 7s, which we also sell, are phenomenal headlights. I've got a set in my car here, and I am a gigantic fan of them. But they look a little goofy. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. If it's a bad thing, then the Holley Retro Brights here will solve that problem. So these are still LED headlights. They are not as good as the Sealed 7, but they are very good. They're not quite as expensive, but you do get the benefits of LEDs. You know, lesser energy, much longer life, brighter light, much better coverage, all that fun stuff. And they are available in a modern, so it's a very white light, like you're used to seeing on modern cars, and similar to this as well. But
And then there's also a classic that's a little more of the halogen. It's not a yellow light, but kind of yellowish in that vein. So, and of course, drop-ins to NAs and NBs with the small additional pack that we include, zip ties and stuff. So, another thing that we've got here is the Cruise Keeper LED bulb. So when you replace all of your taillights with an LED, the cruise control no longer works, basically. So this guy, and it's a combination of resistance and all sorts of fun things, but the short version is it doesn't work. This guy has that built in, so this should take care of your problem. So we also, continuing with the LED theme, we have the Carbon Miata sequential front turn signals. So these are specifically for the NA. They are available in smoked and clear. Since we can't power them right now, I'm going to talk about the clear one so you can see. So this whole oval lights up white as your parking light. So that will be white. Now when you turn the turn signal on, the white goes out. I think, actually, I'm not 100% on that. And there is an orange light across the bottom that is sequential. It goes from one side to the other. So pretty slick. And I won't get into the hyper flash thing with LEDs right now, but you don't have to worry about it with this because it has a resistor built in. So plug it in and go on your merry way with some pretty sweet looking front turn signals. So there you go. Also from our friends at Carbon Miata, we have their front lips for the NA. So this is what's called the Garage Very, the GV lip. So this is a polyurethane, very durable. I've had one on this car for years, and I've run it into plenty of things, and it is still the same shape. So the polyurethane is really nice. We also have the R package, or RS lip here. They both have brake ducts, kind of, sort of. This one has a little more comprehensive brake duct. It does have the other half, the top half of the brake duct as well. And we do sell a kit that gives you the back half of that and backing plates and hose and all that kind of stuff. So this will give you brake ducts, legitimate brake ducts on your car without crazy race car aerodynamic looking, very functional but kind of rough looking stuff, if you will. So another recent-ish addition to the catalog. This is for the ND owners as well. These are transmission case studs. So and kind of like Matt and Ethan were talking about before, the ND transmissions are not quite as bad as the internet has made them out to be. That having been said, there have been some issues, and the more you can do to strengthen it, to hedge your bets, the better. If you've got a street car, these aren't going to hurt you, but you don't really need them. If you've got a track car, if you've got a turbo track car, that's pretty good insurance, basically. So these are studs as opposed to bolts. They won't stretch the same way as the stock ones will, and basically they just hold the transmission together better. So, and this is a case of 8. These are race spec parts, with one exception. We sell 8 of them, not 7 of them, because the race cars have to have one stock bolt for proving that the transmission has not been taken apart and changed. So being street track day guys, we don't have to worry about that. So we're going to replace them all and do it completely. All right. Questions now? No questions? All right. Okay, so we have also recently introduced anti-gravity batteries. So these are pretty slick. This is a stock size drop-in for an NC and ND. You are welcome, except for those of you in internet land, I suppose. You're welcome to come up here and lift this thing up, but it is 17 pounds lighter than the stock battery. That is significant. Yes, thank you. One of the other really neat things about it is that it has restart technology. So what that means is when the voltage gets down to a low enough level, the battery will disconnect itself internally. So it's not going to drain anymore. When you get back to the car, the car is dead, won't start at all. You either push the button on top of the battery here, you get a couple of wireless key fobs, push the button there, the battery reconnects, you start, and you go on your merry way. And then you figure out why the battery is dead. Did you just leave the lights on? No problem. You do something else. You need to figure it out. But anyway, there are a wild amount of details here. The really short version is these are lithium iron phosphate. They're very safe. They're very durable. They have a 5-year warranty. These are not the batteries that light off and overheat and all that kind of stuff. These are not the reason for grounding airline flights and whatever happened when lithium batteries came out at first. So these are safe, guys. You don't have to worry about that. So we also have a kit from Melee design firm here for the ND that puts an even smaller battery in there. So this is going to save you another 5 pounds. So that's 22 pounds off the front of the car. Yeah, there you go. You have one of the first ones. There you go. So bomb-proof case, very nice case, bolts in. It's actually in Travis's car, if you guys have seen that out in the parking lot. And there are 2 batteries available, one with a little more capacity and one with the restart technology. These are smaller batteries. They are still, the really short version is they're great for daily drivers, they're great for track cars, they're great for basically everything except for extremely cold weather. Around freezing is not extremely cold. But if it's cold, 20 degrees, lower, this is not the battery for you. Otherwise, it's a great battery. So, okay, I think I have doing well on my list so far. Yes, Anthony.
I just want to say, so I've run the small battery in my car now for almost a year, and it's been absolutely fantastic. So I have very little drawbacks with it. It's, like I said, almost 23 pounds worth of weight that you've removed from your vehicle.
Yeah, so for those of you that didn't hear that in an internet land, Anthony over here has had this kit in his car for about a year and basically said it's fantastic and he has 0 complaints. I mean, is that a fair summary?
Yep.
All right, perfect. That's the small one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, any more questions about lithium or anything I've already covered? Okay, so we have been selling the Hush kit for our turbo intakes for a while. Basically, open element air filters make a little bit extra noise. If you want to quiet the car down a little bit, some acoustic foam can help do that. And it was just a sheet of foam with some paper templates, and it was functional and fine, but a little clumsy. And I've got it in my car here if you want to see how it looks. Meh. This is a CNC cut kit from DEI. So this is an exact, peel the adhesive on the back, so peel the backing paper off, stick it on, and there you go. It's exactly exact fit for your airbox. There are some generational changes, so depending on the age of your airbox, there might be a little bit of tweaking to do, so on and so forth, but it's either exact or very close, let's put it that way. So that works really well. And again, super easy install, much easier than the old version, so super clean. So this is another recent addition, recent-ish anyway, in the last 12 months. So this is a Mazda Motorsports front hub for NAs and NBs. So for daily drivers, stock hubs are great. For occasional track cars, maybe stock hubs, probably blueprinted hubs. For full-on track cars, bouncing off curbs, big tires, lots of loading, abusive driving, so on and so forth, you want these, is really the short version. They are 4130 chromoly, I think. They're a very good material, whatever it is. It's got a thick flange back here. It's got a big radius here to get rid of any stress risers. And it has legitimate NGK bearings, not knockoffs, which is a surprisingly big problem. And there is a speed limit to them, and it's something like 300 miles an hour. So it's just comical. So basically, these are burly, these are rebuildable, these will last you forever. They are not sealed quite as well. They are sealed fairly well. They are not sealed as well as stock bearings. So if you have a daily driver type of car that you want to just do everything to, I wouldn't actually recommend it for this. In addition to cost, it's just not, it's not necessary, and these will need occasional rebuilds in wet weather. So, Okay, so these are all part of our new-ish, there's a lot of ish in here, but our U-Design program. So briefly, our U-Design program, there are a lot of makers out there. They do whatever for a living, but they like to make things. And 3D printers are fairly popular, and CAD software is easier to get, and all that kind of stuff. So they're designing a lot of awesome things, and we kind of saw an opportunity because we have very good 3D printers that we use for our own purposes in-house. And hey, you guys have an awesome design, we have awesome printers, we can handle the shipping and all that kind of stuff. You guys can make some money for your design. How does that sound? And there are a bunch of people that took us up on it. So we have, let me go through this briefly. We have a vent gauge pod. So people have been putting gauges in the eyeball vent locations of Miatas for forever, and you don't have to have this to do it, but this is a really clean, easy way to do it rather than kind of sort of cobbling it together with tape or whatever you've got to do to make up the diameter change. So super easy. Along with the eyeball vents, we've got these two guys. So these are ram mounts. Basically, it's a system of accessories that allow you to mount things to your car. This does that. So you add a ram mount to this, it's a little arm, and then you have a cell phone holder. Maybe it's magnetic, maybe you've got wireless charging, whatever, but right there. And we've got a recessed version and a proud version. The recessed version is limited in where it can articulate, but it also tucks the whole thing in a little bit closer to the dashboard. For my 2 cents, I prefer the recessed version, but the proud version is still great. And it allows you to move it more. So if you want it a little bit higher on the dash, the proud version is going to be the better option for you. So let's see, what else do we have? We've got a radar detector mount for NDs. So that just sits right on top of your infotainment guy. We have this, which would be an entertaining guessing game, but I won't torture everyone with that. This is to release the throttle cable on an NA or NB, because that is a surprisingly large pain. So this makes it a piece of cake. We have probably the most critical of upgrades, headlight motor knobs. So if you don't like the rubber boots, if you don't have the rubber boots, and you don't like the little red knobs visible, here you go. Cheap, easy, and the detailing is actually pretty slick. Okay, we've got an antenna delete cap for an NC and ND. This is not for those of you who still listen to the radio, because this is not going to do anything there. However, if everything comes off of your phone, this threads on, super easy, much cleaner appearance, that type of thing. We also have some funnels. So this guy, we call an oil funnel adapter. So this allows you to use your own oil funnel, but it threads into the valve cover. We've got a version, this one for NAs and NBs, and we have another version for NCs and NDs. It is vented, so if you've got a seal in here, you don't have to worry about it, air will still come out. And it is also the perfect fit for a Redline oil bottle. That was perhaps not accidental. So we also have a complete funnel that threads into the valve cover. This is the NC-ND version, as you may have figured out if you can see that well. This is a big enough diameter so it does not need venting. We did experiment with that and it was not worth the complication because it wasn't a problem. It also comes with a base. So any kind of drippage, you don't want to leave a lot of oil in there, but whatever kind of drips out long term will be caught by the base. And it is held upright and all that fun stuff. So, oh, and maybe my favorite one that we have, I can't remember if it's live yet or not, but it will be soon anyway. This would be an even more entertaining guessing game. But yeah, you know what it is.
That's a oil filter drain catch, so not to where the oil water cooler interchange is.
Yep.
And when you crack it open, it all drains out through the tube instead of splashing down your subframe.
Yep, that's exactly it. So this is an oil filter drain funnel for 1.8 Miatas. So they have an oil cooler underneath the oil filter, and this snaps in there. And it really seems like it doesn't matter what you do, it is going to make a mess of varying degrees. Not with this one. Yeah.
So do you have to use the factory like water oil cooler to use that?
Yeah, so this does snap on to the water to oil cooler, just oil cooler and normal speak, if you will. But yeah, it does snap onto that. So it won't work with 1.6 Miatas because they don't have that. If you have, for some reason, deleted yours, it won't work with that. Actually, don't know if it will work with 1.6 Miatas with our oil cooler kit because we include a spacer to get everything spaced properly. It's a close diameter. I don't know if it's right, but it's close. So give you a definite maybe on that one. But anyway, it just makes that maintenance dramatically easier. So to roll backwards briefly, all of these U-Design parts, all of our 3D printed parts are printed on our Markforged printers. Super short version is that they are very good printers. They are very precise. They have very good surface finish, and they print from a very heat resistant carbon fiber infused nylon. So I can give you more details on that, but the short version is they're very good, and it's not kind of your typical home printer kind of stuff. So, which can also be very good, but this is not. Anyway, any questions? Oh, yep.
So can we buy the STL file?
Yes. So you asked me that earlier. Can we buy the STL file? No, you can't. There is a big asterisk on that, though. So since these are not our designs, they're designs that we're reproducing, it is up to the designer for what to do with it. So some designers choose to leave it on Thingiverse or whatever so that you can print it without the logo because we cannot guarantee your printing quality. So maybe. It really varies from part to part. I can't remember offhand which ones are and which ones aren't available, but some will be. But that is not our call, that is the designer, and we're not telling the designer that they cannot give the STL file to the community if they want to, just because we're producing it. So that is the designer's call. So this is not everything out of our U-Design program is 3D printed. Most of it is. But this is one that is not. So this is a steering column gauge mount for an NA. Obviously, that is not carbon fiber infused nylon. That is aluminum. But basically, this sits right in front of your warning lights, kind of down and in between the speedo and the tach. It does sit between the warning lights, so be prepared for that, or right in front of, rather. But it is a pretty simple install, really clean spot. It's not up on the windshield pillar because some people like that and some people hate that, but nice and easy there. So, any more questions? No questions from internet land or anything? All right. So now these products are not yet available. Please be patient with us. Things always take longer than we think. However, they should be here pretty soon. So we have a new set of hood louvers. So we worked with, this is basically out of the U-Design program as well. He's a graphic designer, animator. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly what, but basically these are pretty slick hood louvers. They're not really designed for maximum cooling. They are a little more on the aesthetic end, but they are still going to be beneficial for cooling. They're also hard anodized, so they should be much more resistant to heat. Some of the other anodized ones out there turn into a gold color long term. Not necessarily a bad thing, it looks kind of cool, but they don't stay the same appearance as they were to start off with. So these guys do stay that way. So those will be available shortly. And we also, kind of along the lines of the Hush kit there, from our friends at DEI, we have a gold foil kit for our NA and NB turbo airboxes. So this is going to reflect the heat. As you can see, CNC cut, perfect fit. Again, qualifier might be small variations for generations and that kind of thing. But perfect fit, stick on, and it does come with the lid for the aluminum lid as well. This is why I need a third hand, but there you go. So one of the things that I've been working on for a quite long time that I'm really excited about is this setup here. that we have on these cars behind me. So this one's still going to be a little ways out. So you guys are getting a sneak peek here. So we've had our Willwood rear big brake kit for all the generations, although right here we're talking about NA and NB specifically, but we've had it for a long time. And you can get it with or without a parking brake. The parking brake is there. It does a thing. It's not the strongest thing in the world, so you really have to be fairly intelligent about it. So we wanted to improve that. And that's kind of always been in the back of my head. And then the man over there with the really shouty car said, hey, I want a handbrake. I said, oh, okay, I think we can probably do that. And we went through a couple of different iterations. And we have the setup here. So there is basically one 4-piston Powerlight caliper for your foot brake. And then there is one 2-piston Dynapro caliper for your handbrake. So that is a drift setup. So it has a single aluminum bracket back there that holds everything. And we are leaving the handbrake end of things up to you because there are a lot of different variations and so on and so forth. But everything else, depending on how you spec out the kit, is included with it. So we've got that for the drift people. We also have, because the parking brake was not very strong, we have a setup with a legitimate parking brake. Mechanical, uses a stock cable. It is a true parking brake that will hold your car on a hill and all that kind of stuff. So same kind of deal that's on my car over here with again, single brackets, similar but different than that, absolutely not interchangeable. But it tucks in there really well. And actually it has better clearance than the current setup because the current setup has arms that stick up out of the caliper to make it bigger radially. This one does not have that, and I was quite frankly very surprised to find that it actually does fit with a 15-inch spare. So I see you guys. Yeah, so that will be available in the gray anodized. The parking brake comes in a silver, which is very close but not exact, and they'll also be available in the powder-coated red. So that one, again, those kits are probably a couple months out, but they are incoming here soon. So I don't know who was first.
Do you know when we're going to figure out the price point on those?
So the question is when we're going to figure out the price point on those. I will get with you after this on that.
Will they be available for all generations?
So right now, the question is, will they be available for all generations? Right now, it's only NA and NB. I would like to do it for all generations as well. So we'll kind of see how sales do for this, and then we will move on from there. But likelihood is fairly decent that the ND would be next. So, yeah. Okay, so, Kyle, Internet Land.
What color calipers will offer?
So, what color calipers we will offer are, so the drift is going to come in the gray, the hard anodized gray, and then it will also come in the powder-coated red. The parking brake will be powder-coated, both of them, in the silver, which you can see is very similar. I don't think it clashes, so on and so forth, but is not identical, or in the red. That same red powder coat that we've been using with Willwood brakes for forever. Yes, Internet Land.
Is it the handbrake or the drift setup going to be a full kit?
Yeah, so the parking brake setup is a full kit, depending on how you spec it, because we're going to basically offer it as an upgrade for people who already have rear power lights and so on. But that will be a complete kit with everything you need, period. The handbrake setup, the drift setup, we are not including the hydraulic plumbing for the 2-piston for the drift caliper, the handbrake caliper, and we are not including the handbrake lever or the master cylinder for that, because basically you've got to tear your interior apart. Different people might want to do it different ways, so on and so forth. So we're basically leaving that part, which is theoretically a little less complicated, up to you. But the hard part, so to speak, is done. So, more questions? Okay, so I should clarify. That is everything I have. So I hope it was entertaining. I hope you like all of this stuff. So if you have general questions, now is the time. Are there any general questions? Yes, Internet Land.
I didn't ask this earlier because we were moved on. Does the carbon RS lit have a flat surface area on the bottom to mount something like a splitter?
Okay. Okay, so the question is, does the carbon Miata RS lip have a flat space on the bottom to mount a lip? No, it does not. It is a flat edge. It is not a flat surface, a flat plane, if you will. This is not really the place to mount a splitter anyway. You would want to mount a splitter with far more structure than this, and then maybe run some support rods down to the splitter to hold it in place. So it is a flat edge, so it will interface nicely with a splitter, but it is absolutely not for mounting a splitter to. You need way more structure than this to mount a splitter. Okay. Any more questions from anybody? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Blinker fluid, 100% for all generations. This is actually a really special kind that is good for incandescent and LED. It's very expensive, so I don't know if we're going to carry it or not, but we'll see. We've got to do more market research first. So.
You can make it cheaper by making a minimum protection instead of max.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, minimum protection for the blinker fluid instead of maximum would make it less expensive for sure. All right, any more questions? Okay, so apologies for those of you in internet land, but for those of you here, feel free to come on up, look at everything, ask questions, so on and so forth. Thank you, as always, Internet Land, for stopping by. That will be it for, oh no, I'm sorry. We've got dinner and awards and such for autocross coming up later on. So, all right, that's it. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys next time.